Guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be setting off another one of my fire sprinkler heads again. This time it's going to be slightly different, but it's going to be for the same reason. Last time I set off one of my sprinkler heads is before I did my water supply upgrade to this building. And I am getting around 25% more gallons per minute, I believe, if I did my calculation right. So I want to test the actual sprinkler head on the new setup. So it's still not quite the 11 gallons per minute that the sprinkler heads are supposed to get, but it's a lot closer. And even last time I was kind of on the fence of thinking, well, it's actually still putting out pretty good spray coverage. Now let's give it another shot today with the upgraded water supply. You guys up to speed, if you haven't watched my last video, these are the sprinkler heads that are installed throughout this building on this sprinkler system for fire protection. These are low flow sprinkler heads. As you can see, if you look at the top, it says it is a K3 sprinkler head, which is pretty low. These are residential low flow heads, so they have a more wide, flat deflector, which makes a wider spray pattern. And then the orifice in the bottom, that hole, is also quite restricted compared to a higher K factor sprinkler, making that water force out of it at a higher speed. So when it hits the deflector head, it spreads pretty wide to still cover a larger area, even with the limited flow that is in most residential applications like this building, where the sprinkler system has a fairly limited water supply. So last time I set off one of these heads, it gave a decent spray pattern, but it was not getting the gallons per minute that the sprinkler heads want. I'm gonna do it again with the upgraded supply line, and I'm gonna do it the same way as last time, where I base it on absolute worst case scenario. The sprinkler head I'm going to actually activate is going to be slightly different because I end up having to pay about $30 per sprinkler head, so I don't want to keep going through them the way like that, and that will just keep eating them up. So I actually still have my last sprinkler head, so I know what you're probably thinking, oh, I'm just going to put it up and then turn the water on. The thing with that is I like showing them activate with pressure behind them, because the pressure will drop down almost to probably maybe 10 to 20 psi once it's activated. That's what we had last time. It might even hold slightly higher now that there's more flow. I don't know. So I want to set off the sprinkler head with pressure at the beginning still, but I can't keep going through the glass ones because, well, one, I'll need to order more because I like to have spares in case one ever gets set off. But how am I going to do that when I already set it off? Well, I did this. I put a washer in the bottom and a bolt with a nylon locking nut on it, which I've tightened up, so it's in there tight. Like, I can push on it. It's actually in there quite solid. And like, if I blow on it, you can see it's sealed up. So even if it leaks a little bit, it's holding back the water. So I'm going to wrap a cable around it. I'm just going to use some seismic wire. and just give it a good yank, and that's why I put it on that washer, so it will hopefully slide out of there. I'm hoping. It might just end up pulling my whole setup over. Maybe I'll have to weigh it down or something. We'll see about how that goes. I'm going to do the setup in the same sense I did it last time, where I base it on absolute worst case scenario. I'm going to have it connected to my sprinkler head that has the most restriction. I think is this one here, as it goes through the most bends, as it goes through a bend there, then bends up, then if the light turns on in here, bends up, then goes through a T, then goes bends again, then goes through another T, then through that T, then through that T. I think this sprinkler head in here is the most restricted out of all of them, in my opinion. I'm just going to do the same setup that I did last time. If you haven't seen it, I brought it outside with these adapter things I made, wherever those are at. Where this adapts the 1/2-inch female thread to turn it into 3/4 inch male thread for a hose to thread onto, and then on the other end, this is where a sprinkler head goes onto. This one and this one both hold water fine. These ones leak because this thread is different than hose thread. It doesn't quite line up, so that kind of always leaks. But yeah, let's do it. It's nice, warm, nice sunny day out there. I got the air conditioning on for the first time this year. Really the first time I've got to use that heat pump ever in cooling, actually. Yeah, it is May 2nd for anyone wondering. That reminds me, I actually have to do the monthly test this month still. Anyways, don't know when this is getting uploaded, but yeah. Shut off our sprinkler system, open the drain. This one actually seems to be threading on better than it did last time. Maybe this hose has a different thread. This is an older hose. I decided to use this old one since it was not as all screwed up as the new ones. Hopefully it holds water. Some newer hoses, some red ones. You would have seen that if you watched my last one, but they were really kinked up, so they weren't helping flow any bit either. This one is less kinked up. Okay, so here's the setup. This is all up there. Now I've got it on this here, so it's now about 7 feet off the ground versus last time it was 6, because I want to get a more accurate idea of the true spray pattern, as none of them are really mounted at 6 feet. All of the ones inside are mounted at minimum 8 feet, and some of them, like that one's around 9 feet and that one's around 13 feet. Obviously the ones in the attic aren't that high. These ones aren't that high, but they also have less of an area to cover. I'm mostly worried about these main areas because really a fire is not that likely to start in the attic where things aren't stored or being used. It's more likely this main area. One last thing, I'm going to open this one so we can turn the water on to get any air out of the line, so it is a better activation. We can turn on our sprinkler line slowly. We may see leaks in here. Yeah, we already are. This hose is definitely making quite a mess. That's not great. So We're gonna shut that off. Okay, this hose leaks a little bit too much as that's making a big mess. Okay, new hose here. This one seems to not be leaking so much at that end. That end, I think it's gonna leak worse, but that doesn't really matter. And it's actually holding pressure now. What's that, 25, 30 pounds? This hose is a lot longer. It's got a loop all the way around, so we're probably gonna lose some flow on that, but that is what it is. Okay, so I have this cable with the lock on it, zap strapped onto this. So once I pressurize it, I should be able to just give that a good yank and it should go. This will set the fire alarm system off as I have nothing bypassed. We are charged to full pressure. Nothing's exploded over there. And surprisingly, it's actually holding not too bad. All right, we're gonna go for it. So you can see the spray is going to the deck and to the generator building, which is quite a good distance actually. Keep in mind that's at 7 feet. It would actually be usually mounted higher. All right, we're gonna go for it. Really hard to see the water. We'll check and see what pressure we're holding and then shut the fire alarms off. Holding around probably 25 pounds. It's a hot day, I can't help it.
there's actually not much water in the very center of it. It's mostly to the outside.
Oh, that's a cool shot. I'm now soaking wet, so let's do it again. And you know, guys, that spray pattern actually looks pretty freaking good. It's covering that whole area right there. It's spraying very wide, like that's definitely better than it was before. Okay, we've got a lot of water going on. Keep in mind, guys, this is worst case scenario off the worst sprinkler head, plus going through 50 feet of hose. This is as bad as it gets. Any other sprinkler head in here, like say that one, would be getting a lot more. And I was concerned before that, hey, this corner is probably 8 feet away from that sprinkler head. Is it going to cover the whole area? Looking at this, knowing this is worst case scenario, plus those ones are mounted higher, yeah, it would cover every area. What happens if we open up the drain? Yeah, we basically lose all sprinkler pressure. And the majority of it's going out the drain. Not trying to bug anyone on YouTube or anything, because I understand lots of people have their limitations and what they can do. I've kind of spent a lot of money on this, but this is how half the videos of activating sprinklers on YouTube look, because people just use their garden hose, which, sure, I'm using the garden hose, but the actual valve it comes out of is so extremely restricted that it's not quite the same as having a full line with no restrictions, which obviously gives you quite a bit more flow. Anyways, guys, yeah, so now I'm going to take this all apart. So I don't know where my piece went that I was tied onto. It could have... Oh, there's the washer. That's the washer from it. Now, as far as where the rest of it went, I am not sure. I'm going to reset this fire alarm system to get the strobes to stop. Something I think I should add in here, nothing really to do with this, because people always get it wrong, which if you didn't have any other knowledge, I understand it. You know, lots of you guys that follow my channel sort of know what you're talking about as far as this sort of stuff, but lots of people get this wrong, where sprinklers aren't like how they are in the movies. There's a few things that I always see that make me smile because it's kind of funny. Number one is, oh, you pull the fire alarm and the sprinklers go off. That, where you pull the fire alarm and all of the sprinklers go off. That's one. Also, a common one kind of to do with that one is you set one sprinkler off and somehow the building has millions of gallons per minute that every sprinkler in the building can go off. That's not how it is. They activate by heat individually, each single. There's suppression systems found in kitchens and other high risk area that operate differently. They're actually suppression, supposed to put out the fire. These type of sprinklers are just supposed to keep the fire small and contain it until fire department can arrive. But anyways, sprinklers, only one goes off at a time. Pulling a pull station doesn't set it off. Setting off a smoke detector doesn't set it off. It's only the other way around where the fire alarm or the sprinkler system will set off the fire alarm system in most cases. Well, I just measured from where the ground was wet, basically from the deck to the generator building, and we were getting a solid spray pattern of around 15 feet. If I counted where the water actually ended at, it was probably more about 16 feet, maybe 17 if you counted at the very beginning when it kind of spreads out a little more as there's more pressure. But for the most part, like a good solid spray pattern was about 15 feet, which these sprinkler heads are meant to do 14 feet. They're probably a little bit conservative there, as it's better to be safer on the side of caution with having them more frequently spaced than what they could actually spray out to. Now keep in mind that was at 7 feet. They might spread a little better at a higher elevation. Definitely this one in this big tall area though, I was concerned it wouldn't reach the side, and just off of that spray pattern at 7 feet, it would reach either side. Not to mention it is higher than 7 feet, about at around 13 feet. So I'm actually pretty happy with these results. Even before I did the water upgrade, we were getting a decent spray pattern. This one may have not quite reached those walls very well, but I think now it definitely will. So I'm a lot more confident in this system. I think this system would perform at exactly how these sprinkler heads are intended, as now with the upgrade it seems to be giving these sprinkler heads exactly the amount of water they're supposed to, because they're exceeding what they say they will cover as far as area. So every single bit of this building has sufficient fire protection. So I'm happy with this. You can see I'm still, my hair is a little wet still. It's just, I've been a while after I've cleaned everything up. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this video. So if you enjoyed it, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you have any comments or questions, make sure to put those in the comment section. And if you do enjoy my videos and want to see more of them, be sure to subscribe. That would help me out. And also, I have an Instagram account at Pickle700 where I post bonus stuff and stuff you would see on the YouTube channel, but a little bit earlier, that sort of thing. So if you're interested, feel free to check that out. Alrighty, guys. Thanks for watching.